In the summer of 1992, little kids were walking out of Batman Returns in tears, and not the good kind. When their parents and babysitters took them to see the sequel to the biggest superhero blockbuster of all time, 1989's Batman, which grossed over $400 million, what kids expected to see was a wholesome fight between Batman and two of his most iconic enemies. What these under 13-year-olds got instead was Batman strapping bombs to a violent circus performer, a leather-clad Catwoman overtly leveraging her sexuality to manipulate the men in the story, and worst of all, the Penguin, a horrifying, disfigured monster who pretends to be a virtuous victim and instead plots to kidnap and murder babies. Even before the credits roll, an infant in a stroller is intentionally discarded into a sewer. It's no wonder the kids were upset. And if the children were this disturbed, one can only imagine what the reaction must have been from the film's more than 120 brand sponsors. Welcome to Superhero Cinema Club, an in-depth exploration of the history of superhero cinema. I'm your host, Mark Schiff, and joining me as always, it's the chip to my Max Shrek, Mike Carnes.
Dad, what are you doing? You're trying to get the Penguin to be the mayor. He felt like he was doing his own Christopher Walken impression, didn't it?
That was great. You did a good impression of him doing Christopher Walken impression. That was nicely done, Chip. Yeah, I'm proud of you, son. Say this
Thanks,
for
Dad.
Max Shrek. He's just one of the worst people in superhero cinema, honestly. He's truly villainous character. He loves his son, though, bro. He really does.
He really does.
He loves Chip.
He was willing to give himself up in favor of Chip's life.
He loves Chip, despite all of his flaws. One of the many complex characters in 1992's Batman Returns, the movie we're going to be discussing today. Batman Returns and all the movies we're going to be talking about this season are available to stream on HBO Max. They went back to the HBO because that's the good stuff. And
Because it was really stupid just to call it Max.
Horrible decision from multiple standpoints, but they're back as HBO Max. We'd encourage you to rewatch the film before listening to our podcast. It's always enhances it if it's fresh on the mind, I believe. Unless you're a sicko that's watched this movie so many times, it's basically run back in your own memory. Personally, I'm not quite that level of sicko, Mike. I have seen this movie like so many times. It's probably when I rewatched it, I was like, I actually know this almost as well as Batman. I've watched Batman more times,
dang.
but I definitely was like, oh yeah, these little, like Michelle Pfeiffer in particular, every little thing she did, I was like, oh yeah, I love how she like her expression at this part, this tiny little gesture, this little choice that she made.
Man, you know all those tiny little idiosyncrasies, huh?
I watched Michelle Pfeiffer very closely in this film, Mike, because as we discussed on the previous episode, I was 10 years old when the original Batman came out in 1989, so that would make me now 13-year-old, Mark, when Batman Returns come out. And I think I'm going to speak for basically all men who are heterosexual and between the ages of 18 and 12 when this movie came out, and that is that Michelle Pfeiffer probably had a pretty strong influence on our hormonal balances, let's say, at the
A
time.
coming of age tale, Batman Returns.
I'm not even going to go there. You teed me up and it could have gotten extremely foul, and I'm going to restrain myself.
It's a
Unlike,
family podcast, Mark.
that's right. we
Restrain
try to
yourself.
keep it clean here, unlike this movie, which, boy, there's sexual innuendo, there's horrifying murder, just a good time all around. I love it so much. Now, before we kind of talk about the movie's production and the controversies, there is a more important question we have to address first and foremost, and that is, Mike, is Batman Returns a Christmas movie?
Ooh, spicy question. I've been thinking about this a lot. I know that there are a lot of, litmus tests that you can do for movies that are kind of centered around Christmas that may or may not be Christmas movies. Certainly the Lethal Weapon movies are not Christmas movies, but they're all take place at Christmas time, as do all the Shane Black movies. Something like Die Hard, I would argue, is a Christmas movie. And my litmus test for that is that it's every song in that movie that's not a piece of original score is a Christmas song, including the Run DMC piece of music that Argyle listens to. But for this movie, There's a lot of Christmas themes. It takes place, I think it ends on Christmas Eve, does it not?
I'm not sure if they ever specify that it is Christmas. He does say Merry Christmas, Alfred,
Literally, the last line of the movie is Merry Christmas, Alfred, and Goodwill Towards Men.
and women.
That's right. So,
Corny
and
last
there's
line. It was
corny last
corny.
line.
I was like, damn it.
They light a Christmas tree. There's ice skating. There's a lot of different things. So I went to something specific, which was that last year my sister created some Christmas movie bingo cards. And basically, what she did was created a randomized bingo card with different Christmas themes to, just make watching like the corny Hallmark Christmas movies a little bit more enjoyable. But I kind of take this as a litmus test because I like to play Christmas movie bingo with movies that may controversially be a Christmas movie, quote unquote. And what I found is that this is definitely a Christmas movie because I got bingo while
No
watching
kidding.
Batman Returns. And then let me give you my bingo line here. Number one, dead parent. And you could
Is
either
that
give
a
that
Christmas movie thing?
you could either, yes, is apparently with
Wow.
the Hallmark movie Christmas, yes.
Oh, wow.
You
Okay.
could either
Yes,
go
there's multiple dead parents in this movie.
you could either go Bruce Wayne or you could go with Oswald Cobblepot with him discovering that his parents are dead.
Or even poor Chip Shrek at the end of the movie, whose dad is electrocuted in horrifying
That's
fashion in
very true.
Gotham sewers.
Number two, big speech. And I gave that to Christopher Walken where he doesn't have his speech notes and so he has to give a big speech in front of Gotham. Number
It
three,
counts, yeah.
anything plaid. And I'm pretty sure Bruce wears a plaid sweater at one point. Number four, mistletoe. There's a lot of mistletoe in
Oh,
this movie.
mistletoe is big.
Yeah. And then number five was my free space. So I got 5 out of 5. Christmas movie bingo. Ergo, Batman Returns is a Christmas movie.
Is a Christmas movie. Yeah, so I think whenever you have to have a debate about is a movie a Christmas movie, it's inherently not a Christmas movie because if it was a Christmas movie, it'd be about Santa Claus or buying presents or having to fly somewhere on Christmas or like Home Alone, right? So the fact that you're debating it enters it into a new realm, right? And I think what I've heard in the past is that is Christmas instrumental to the plot of the movie? And that's where Die Hard then does become a Christmas movie because it's really explicit. And in fact, I would say Die Hard is for sure more explicitly Christmas than Batman Returns is.
Absolutely.
That being said, I think there are two important pieces of evidence in regard to this criteria. Number one, at one point, Max Schreck, someone, I believe a reporter, is giving Oswald Cobblepot some guff about, like, well, what's your real story? Where you been? And he's like, it's Christmas. Have some good spirit. Besides,
Yeah.
it's Christmas, So he's using the sort of holiday spirit as in the plot, in his machinations in the story. And number two, you just alluded to it, and it's an incredible bingo card to get on this because the mistletoe thing is it's like the whole movie actually hinges on this scene, right? So, as you remember, Batman and Catwoman have been having some sexy fights, and then Bruce Wayne and Selena Kyle have had some kind of sexy tense dates, and the mistletoe line is where they both make the connection. So I'm sure the writers could have come up with a different device to tip them off. They could have thought of something else, obviously, but the fact that it's a kiss under the mistletoe, which is a very holiday specific thing, I think it tips it over into the realm of Christmas movie for sure. Yeah, let's go.
I think
So,
it is. Yeah. The bingo card said
um,
so. So
yeah, and also the bingo card. So yeah, I think we're in agreement here. Yeah, you can, in the same way as you watch Die Hard, now include Batman Returns in your holiday entertainment. With that, let's jump into our first category, the Tale of the Cape. We'll talk about the production of the film and behind the scenes stuff. So the film Batman Returns was released on June 19th, 1992, 3 years after the original. Now, originally, Tim Burton really was not particularly keen on coming back and doing another Batman movie. He had his fill and he wasn't particularly passionate about the character prior to being hired for the job. It wasn't a great experience in terms of corporate interference, obviously, on the very first one. He came out with Edward Scissorhands the year after Batman, which got a lot of acclaim and did well, and was in the process of cooking up The Night Before Christmas. So he was still on a hot streak. As we discussed last episode, one of the greatest heaters ever to start a film career. And Warner Brothers lured him back into the mold by promising him more creative freedom on this, Mike, fun fact, do you know the cult comedy that he was forced to drop out of directing in order to return to do Batman Returns?
Ooh, good question. The same year, 93?
You know what? I'm not sure what year this
92, sorry.
that movie ended up coming out. Yeah,
I can't think of it. Why don't you go ahead and tell me?
yeah, the movie that he bailed on to go back to Batman Returns was Cabin Boy, the barely remembered Chris Elliott film with a rare film cameo from David Letterman in it.
Yeah.
And like a really
You like to buy a
silly,
monkey?
yeah, want to buy a monkey? Yeah, funny, silly comedy. Tim Burton was going to direct that, which I thought was very interesting. Instead, he goes back to do Batman Returns. I watched behind the scenes. It's on YouTube. It's worth watching. It's Batman Returns, the Bat, the Cat, and the Penguin. It was, I think, released before the movie came out as like kind of a Entertainment Tonight type promotional reel, but you can see it on YouTube. And in the interviews, Tim Burton has a quote. He said, Batman Returns isn't a sequel and then it picks up from the events of the first one. We wanted it to feel fresh, like a whole new chapter, something that you could just enjoy on its own merits. I never really thought of that consciously, but I really kind of made a lot of sense after thinking about it. You don't actually really have to see the events of the first movie to understand this. There is a little bit of Vicky Vale stuff during
Yeah,
the date, and obviously you wouldn't understand Batman's origin at all. You don't necessarily have to see the first Batman to understand what's going on in this movie.
sure. There's a lot of conversation with Vicky. I felt kind of justified in the fact that Bruce Wayne specifically says to Alfred, "You let her in the Batcave. What was I supposed to do?"
No way, man. I'm still Team Alfred on that one. He wanted to
Batman
tell
agrees with
her.
me, Mark.
They just wrote that line because they wanted to make an inside joke. Stupid controversy. They basically put together a new writing staff. Sam Hamm, who had done the first script, did work on the story. He gets the story credit, but ultimately his script was discarded in favor of a new draft written by Daniel Waters. So, Mike, this is interesting to learn. Daniel Waters was the writer of Heathers, the dark cult comedy
Very
from the
dark.
80s with Winona Ryder. Yeah, this is really a subversive
Christian
film.
Slater.
Christian Slater, early roles for both of them. Obviously, it's a classic among my generation, but I was really like, oh, yeah, I could totally see that the writer of Heathers was also involved in this movie because I think a lot of those themes around conformity, commercialism, and, the popular cliques versus the outsiders, very evident in this. I was definitely not surprised to learn that.
Yeah, I can see it.
Tim Burton also really liked the fact that he wasn't a big comic book guy, similarly, and that he would kind of have a fresh outsider's take on this. Wesley Strick also did rewrite during the set when they were filming, so I don't believe that he's credited on this screenplay, but he was also involved in writing this one. I'm about to absolutely butcher a man's name, Mike, but a gentleman by the name of Stephen Kazapsky. It's CZAP Sky Chapsky. In
Okay.
any event, I warned you that I was going to butcher your name, Stephen, and I apologize for that deeply. You were the cinematographer who shot this film and also worked with Tim Burton on Edward Scissorhands and then the follow-up from Batman Returns, Ed Wood. Really good cinematographer from peak Tim Burton early years. They had a new production designer as well, as we discussed in the first episode. Anton First won an Oscar working on this. Sadly, he passed away.
Um,
And Tim Burton got his guy, Bo Welch, who had also worked on Beetlejuice and Edward Scissorhands, to take over as a production designer. And I think, Mike, this is probably the first discussion point here. I love the production design in this one. I mean, I love, love, love it. I think one of the things they mentioned was like, okay, it's going to be similar but different in the same way that if the first movie took place on the west side of Gotham, we want it to feel like this movie is on the east side of town. There's
oh, okay.
architectural similarities, but it's its own unique thing. I really like the production design. I think the square looks cool. All of the gothic elements and the industrialist stuff looks really cool. German brutalist architecture in
Hmm.
there. Really enjoyed it. What do you think about the production design?
A lot of weird statues, I thought. You know, you get the two statues next to, I guess it's like the town hall square of these two guys pulling big levers, which seemed reminiscent of the first movie with the town square, except they added in a couple of crazy statues. And I think that this kind of set the precedence going forward for Batman movies to have Gotham City be decorated by all these strange muscular statues of men kind of strewn about this town. And we're going to see that a lot in Batman Forever. And it's, I think, a big set piece in Batman and Robin, centers around a very tall, manly statue. Yeah, I will never say that a Tim Burton movie has bad production design. Like, there's just no possible way. It's always the shining element of these movies that he does.
Obviously, in terms of casting, you're going to want to get back as many actors as you can. And that starts at the top of the list with Michael Keaton in his, what for a long time was his final appearance as Batman, is now his final lead role as Batman. Let's go with that. Mike, what did you think about Michael Keaton in this one relative to his performance in the first Batman?
I would say it's not quite as good as the first go around. He doesn't have as much to do just from an acting range perspective. There's no scene where he's like, "Do you want to get nuts? Let's get nuts." And he's breaking things in an apartment. He seems very focused on just trying to be with Selena Kyle and almost nothing else. It seems like there's a couple of scenes between him and Alfred where he's trying to figure out what the Penguin is doing, but it seemed to me that he was kind of phoning it in those scenes. I don't know. I just kind of felt like this is not as much of a an effort as the first movie was.
Yeah, I think I agree with you. I don't, it's not quite as good as the first one, but I will say I do think that this character of Bruce Wayne and Batman is much better developed than he was in the first film. I just think that those scenes with Selena show a lot of Bruce's personality. I think his scenes with Alfred show a lot of his awkwardness. There's just kind of gives you more depth in terms of who he is outside of the mask in this one relative to the first film. That being said, I mean, this is a really, as is The Dark Knight, a true ensemble film where the supporting characters all have really significant and meaty parts. That really starts at the top with, I believe, Michelle Pfeiffer as Selena Kyle, aka Catwoman. Mike, I mean, we alluded to it before. There's just something enormously sexy about this character. I mean, that's really overt in the character itself. I don't think it's really objectifying her. In a lot of ways, she uses her the sexiness to manipulate the men in the film, as I mentioned.
Yeah, she's like the ultimate femme fatale in a way. She's using her sexuality to create, danger and violence and to her advantage.
And the thing is, this movie has a lot of great themes. We'll discuss them, but misogyny, and I think she is one of the true feminist film heroes. I mean, it's so overt in this movie. Every man is sexist to her, including the security guards who are like, I don't know if
Oh
I
yeah.
want to arrest her or take her home, like, I mean, they're all just so objectifying. At the very beginning, she offers an idea and she's so insecure that she just kind of mousishly like mumbles some stuff and then gets made fun of. We haven't properly housebroken her.
Right.
Like the men are awful to her in this movie, and she is just out to mess their worlds up. It is a real feminist empowerment performance, and I think that this is truly one of the iconic film villains in superhero film history. We can kind of discuss that as we get into it later, but I believe this is genuinely one of the greatest villains in film history, and that Michelle Pfeiffer's performance is one of the all-time best. Next up is Danny DeVito as Oswald Cobblepot slash the Penguin. This was interesting, Mike. He got nominated for a Razzie. That really upset me because I will say,
Oh, I
while
don't
his
know if that's worth it.
no, it's a terrible nomination.
Yeah.
Shame on you, Razzies. You bring disgrace on the name of your fine organization. This is a really great performance. I mean, I think he's really pitched at an extremely high level in this film, and he does lean into the kind of the campiness to a certain extent, the way that we talked about the original Batman perception being in pop culture. But talk about well-written characters. I mean, Oswald Cobblepot has a genuinely tragic backstory where
He
his
does, yeah.
family threw him away quite literally because of his deformity, but he is a really monstrous villain as well. I mean, morally, not just physically. This is just such a well-written character. His story arc is amazing. It was inspired by an original Batman show story arc where it was called His Honor the Penguin, and he ran for mayor in
Oh,
the
wow.
original Batman show. Yeah.
The 66 show?
hmm
Okay.
So it's kind of a hat tip to that, but yeah, his story it starts in the gutter,
Yeah.
raises all the way up to almost becoming the mayor of Gotham City, and then falls all the way back down into the gutter. I mean, it's like a whole arc for a supporting character in this film. Some people have noted
The
they think that he's might be Tim Burton's favorite character in this film. That's
the rise and
possible. I could
fall
see
of
it.
a great American. He raises
Yeah.
himself up by his bootstraps and then flies too close to the sun, to take a bird parlance. But I kind of considered at one point that maybe he was like an anti-Moses figure because he's delivered down a basket down the river there, and but instead of leading towards salvation, it leads towards his demise in a way.
Interesting. There have been, I think, some soft anti-Semitism accusations lobbed at this character in particular, and he's
At the
going,
Penguin?
yeah, because of his nose.
Oh my
Um,
God.
Max
Okay.
Shrek has a Jewish last name, and yeah, it just now that you pointed out, he does get thrown in the river, wants to kill the firstborn sons, right? There's some
He
kind
does.
of
That's right.
there's some sort of Jewish touchstones, I guess, in there. I don't see it. I would be sensitive to that kind of thing. I'm like, I'm good to it. I don't believe that, but
I don't see it despite the four connections I just made myself.
I mean, it's there if you want to read into it. I'm not going to do that. I wasn't offended personally. So, yeah, just a phenomenal performance by DeVito. He is so committed. Say what you will, but he is really going for it in this. Love his character too.
He's going for it, and Tim Burton brings him back a couple more times, a few more times, I think. And I think the Razzies may have nominated him because he does kind of spend half of his screen time approximately being very grotesque. He's just kind of grunting, just just doing that kind of thing the whole time as he's gnawing the head of a fish. But I think that he has a lot of great lines. He has a great performance. It's very memorable. I don't know if you can get to be better casting than Danny DeVito as the Penguin. That's like the ultimate casting right there.
There's a
I
reason why we're not like alternate casting. It's because they nailed the casting. It's perfect.
we don't even have that section here for this character. No.
And neither one. Same with Michelle Pfeiffer. Sean Young, sadly,
No, no, no. You didn't know about this? Annette Bening was
oh,
supposed to
I'm
be Cat.
sorry. Yes, yes, yes. Yeah.
Let's lead into that then, I guess. So,
Okay.
but apparently Annette Bening had been cast and then had got pregnant, and so she could no longer work the film. And Michelle Pfeiffer is on record as saying, "Thank God for that happening because it opened up an enormous opportunity for me."
Yeah, I could see her in this role too. I think Annette
I
Bening would
could
have
too.
been phenomenal, actually. Like she would
Yeah.
have crushed it the way the character is written. So, but again, I just have to credit Michelle Pfeiffer's performance. I think she's just totally brilliant in this film. Our last villain, and they really kind of hid him in the marketing, I would say, of this movie. Understandably so, since he wasn't an iconic villain. In fact, he was made up specifically for this film. You've got Christopher Walken as Max Shrek. I think truly iconic actor. I mean, I think Christopher Walken is like one of one in terms of film history. I think as a result, he kind of gets a pass on like are you good or not good? You cast him for the Christopher Walken type, and then you get Christopher Walken doing that type.
100%.
And it's amazing. I love Max Schreck in this movie. He was invented for the film. I think, Mike, he is kind of the lead character of the first 30 minutes of this movie. I mean, it's mostly Max Schreck movie, and maybe less so as it goes on, but he's a really juicy part in this film. And I think Christopher Walken
Yeah.
is iconic in this role.
He takes a lot of screen time. He's got a hell of a head of hair in that first couple of scenes. That thing is a mane sitting on top of his head. He understands the assignment, and that is to show up in a Tim Burton movie and be the most ostentatious Chris Walken character that you can be. and he plays it very well.
Max Shrek, like I said, was never in the comics, and I don't think they ever put him in the comics after this, as far as I know. Despite literally just serving the purpose in this film, I think is one of the great comic book villains. Obviously not iconic like Catwoman and Penguin, but certainly one of the better characters. Let's put it that way.
There's a lot of characters that come in through different Batman storylines. That's like the evil business tycoon. And maybe we can save this for later, but Shrek Industries, I don't really fully understand what they do because they're like a Walmart's department store kind of thing, but then they're also opening a nuclear power plants, and he's not going to be taken down by Bruce Wayne, no, sir, because I have this nuclear deal. The
Well,
Walton
I don't think he
family,
says nuclear.
I think he
It's
does.
does he? It's I know it's power. I don't know if he ever says what kind of power it's going to be, but
Okay, well, in
it
any
kind of
case,
looks like it.
it's a weird business tycoon kind of move that's happening, and because Bruce Wayne is opposed to it, we're just gonna assume that it's evil. But I don't understand his business model. What is this department store that has a giant cat head that spins around on top of the building? I don't really understand what's happening with his business here.
It does seem like he has a lot of vested interest beyond just being the Walmart of Gotham, which is kind of what we see. Is just it's just the department store is like the main business stuff. So that
Yeah.
being said, that cat absolutely iconic. I love the logo for Shrek department store and the giant cat head that they built that's like turning around inside the department store. I love that. I think that branding is sick.
I want to say, I think that image was reused during Batman the Animated Series at some point. I feel like I've seen a cartoon version of that head, that giant cat head.
Yeah, it feels very familiar. There's definitely a Cheshire cat kind of grin there, but
Yeah.
I think it's to me it just feels like this symbol of Max's slimy bullshittingness, that he just it's a shit-eating grin that that cat is wearing. I mean, there's no two ways to put it, and I think it's a great symbol for Max Shrek. All right, well, let's now jump into our first category of the night, best action scene. Mike, I think one thing we should discuss maybe before we get an action scene here is just how fast this movie moves. Same as the original Batman. I think, if I'm not mistaken, this movie only takes place over 4 days. I don't think all of them are necessarily consecutive, but the first 40 minutes of this movie basically are one day. It's the single afternoon and night. Then there's a couple more days where he's running for mayor. There's a couple more days in there. There's the big climactic fight, and then we're out. I mean, it's really one scene leads into the next, leads into the next. I love the pacing of this film.
It moves really quickly. As I mentioned, it's the week leading up to Christmas. The mayoral race kind of confuses me. Don't we do elections in November?
He says that, and it's the whole we're going to recall the mayor thing.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
All right, so for best action scene, first up, we've got the Red Triangle's opening assault. This is the first big intro. Batman comes riding in on the Batmobile. A lot of good Batmobile action in this movie overall. Way more than the first one, which as a Batmobile lover, I was very into it. I loved it.
I love seeing Gotham in the wintertime and in the snow. It was a really smart decision, I think, to take something from the first movie that we had already seen and then place it in a different setting. And it kind of added a whole new dynamic to the backdrop of these scenes and not make it feel like the same old thing. It was something that was fresh and new. The Batmobile coming in was definitely cool. I wish they had maybe improved upon the design somehow a little bit. The only thing they did was that it has these two wings that stick out of it to trip the guys that are on stilts.
Yeah, that's a
That's
sick
that's
part.
your, that's your move? What? Why? That's the
I
move?
mean, I think the move is to not try to cause chaos while walking around on stilts in the winter,
Okay,
but
fair
that
enough.
might be the lesson there rather than the Batmobile. But
That's a very
um,
specific solution to that problem, I think.
he has it for when he needs it. But yeah, no, it has that pivot mechanic where he's like parked, and then the guy with the flamethrower, the fire
Yeah.
breather, and he just jacks up the car on the jack, turns it around, and blasts the guy
That's
in his
kind of what I
tails.
was talking about in the first one, where he pulls into the Batmobile and then the platform looks like it rotates around. But I guess we don't even need that anymore because the Batmobile itself rotates.
So sick.
180 degrees. Yeah.
I loved it. The other part of this scene I really like is the clown with the taser on Selena. Maybe he's a muscle guy. I can't remember, but he's really scary. He's like holding it right next to her face. She sells it really well. That whole thing, aha, you missed, and then he pulls the bricks out of the back wall. Some really good gadgetry there. And then, of course, when he's unconscious, Selena looks up and then kicks him. Like, I gotta contribute my part. Such a good joke. God, I love Michelle Pfeiffer in this role.
That taser becomes a pretty integral plot point through the rest of the movie, too. So that was kind of interesting. I
Absolutely.
was not really a fan of the way that she was like cracking jokes to his unconscious body to herself after Batman leaves. Like, well, that was the most interaction I'll have with a man all year, or something like that, you know?
I love it. I think it sets up her character. She calls herself a corn dog multiple times. You stupid corn dog. So I think it helps establish that side of her personality that she's just so repressed, so nervous, so insecure. I don't know. I'm a fan of that part. So, all right, next action scene, Christmas chaos. Fun fact about this scene, Mike, starts with the little poodle carrying the bomb to the department store. That poodle is the same poodle that was used in Silence of the Lambs. Precious, the very famous poodle from Silence of the Lambs.
Yes.
Give me
And
back my Precious.
and Pee-wee's Big Adventure.
And Pee Wee's Big Adventure. Just
Ah,
a massive sar.
that dog has quite an IMDb page if you look him
Amazing
up.
dog. Rest in peace, because you've probably been dead for a long time.
Darla the poodle. Yes.
Oh, I love you, Darla. Rest in peace, girl. You're a good girl. This is an amazing scene, Mike. I mean, you have all the chaos, you have the incredible battering stuff. I love the part where he is fighting the sword swallower and he just pulls the sword from the guy's
That was
throat
really good.
and hits him with it. All right, Catwoman in the department store. Are you kidding me, dude? This is real stunts performed by Michelle Pfeiffer, who did
Yeah.
real training to learn how to use a whip and nailed that take. First take,
Yeah.
one take, Michelle Pfeiffer. And that is an amazing scene. You'd think that they would have had to have cut together a whole bunch of different takes of whipping off the heads and then jumping rope with her whip and the whole thing. I mean, she's phenomenal, bro. This is also the scene where Batman straps dynamite to a dude and
Let's do it.
pushes
Let's get
him.
into it.
Okay, this is quite controversial. This Batman kills. Now, Michael Keaton specifically. He killed in the first one in somewhat more incidental fashion, let's say. Throwing guys off that were attacking him.
Yeah.
This is him just strapping a bomb to a dude and pushing him. I don't think it's a cliff, but it's just, down an alley or something, off a ledge, let's say. I don't hate that from this Batman. I guess I feel like it's theatrical and the way that he does actually seem, it's a joke the way they make it in this movie, right? He
Yeah, because he
has the bomb.
smiles afterwards. There's the shot of him smirking after he does it, like, hey, that was cool.
Yeah, I can understand that. I guess it makes sense for me in this universe, and I don't think that unless you introduce the fact that this is part of his moral code, you could kind of assume that Batman is going to have to occasionally take a life. So that's kind of my take. I give him a pass. Where are you at with this?
Well, we talked about it in the last movie because I wasn't sure when they introduced Batman's rule. And so I went and did a little bit of research. Come to find out, Batman #1, the comic issue, right out the gate. I know Detective Comics is his first appearance, but right out of the gate, Batman #1, he says specifically that he does not kill. He does not like killing. So in the comics, he's on record very early as being anti-killing. Him, like I said, smirking right after killing this guy, that's a step away from becoming the Joker, man. You're very close to being what you hate and being what you take down. And that's the whole point of the rule, is that you don't cross that line. And I don't like it. I don't think that this is something that Batman should be doing. He's a hero. There are other solutions. Killing is not the answer, Mark.
Wow, okay. Killing is not the answer. Dang. Hot take. I I'm just generally for, kill, be killed, whatever, it's just rules of the jungle is
Yeah.
basically what I live by. But
Okay.
the fact that you have a moral compass that says no to murder. Now you make a compelling point, Mike. I think that what you're getting at is that the idea that he will basically do anything except for this, and it's his only rule, is one of the defining traits of the character in a lot of respects. And this movie is really not just breaking that rule, but is sort of rubbing your nose in him breaking that rule. So I think that's a fair point. That being said, this scene's not even over yet. You get Danny DeVito being like just a mayor, examining the damage. Michelle Pfeiffer blowing up the department store with the iconic meow. I saw her first, flies off in the umbrella. That leads directly into their very first fight on the rooftop. Brilliant tactics from Catwoman here. How could you? I'm a woman. And then kicks him
Yeah.
off the ledge and is like, as I was saying, I'm a woman. I can take care of myself now. Thank you. I don't need, it's such a great.
I don't
Did
need
I
no
mention how much I
man.
like this?
I don't
So
need no
good.
Batman specifically.
I mean, if I'm a superhero that's out there and I'm fighting all these dudes that are trying to do assaults and rapes and stuff, and it's all male centric crime, I'm feeling pretty good about throwing punches. Now, oh, wait, I'm fighting a woman and she calls me on the fact that I'm hitting women.
I
I
was
mean,
gonna
this is
say, yeah.
this is a trope in a lot of, this has been done before, but I find that plausible. I would probably be like, wait a minute, I don't actually know how I do feel about this.
That's fair. It is the first time we see him actually punch a woman too. There's not been anything in the first movie or the second movie to this point that
Yeah.
goes through that. I was gonna say, what is the thing that he hits her with? Is it acid?
Yeah, it looks like acid when you see her
That's
arm when they're in the makeout
horrific.
session. Yeah.
So he brands her or completely disfigures her arm? Like, how does he have something like that just hanging off of his belt that he's just ready to hit someone with a vial of acid? Like,
Well,
that's super hardcore. Are you just ready to make another Joker at the whim here, Batman, whenever you want?
I mean, that's a fair point. If anyone should know the dangers of using acid on
Exactly.
your enemies, it should be Batman. I'm gonna go with like it's like a burn thing. And it looked like an acid burn when we see it, but it's more it'll go away. It's just some blisters, some bad
That's like the
blistering.
Fight Club. Like, I'm gonna put sulfuric acid on your
Yeah,
hand.
I don't
Like,
think he's actually permanently maiming this woman, but sometimes you got to do what you got to do. I mean, I don't know if that was practical. This scene leads into another controversial moment in the film where Catwoman is feeling on Batman's junk, Mike. The
yeah.
camera doesn't ever confirm this. Kind of a there you are. And Batman kind of has a little twitch to his face, let's say, then gets stabbed in his abdomen by her claws.
Oh, interesting. I didn't even read it that way. I thought she was feeling the sides of his abs until she felt where the body armor ended on the front to, no longer take a bullet as a straight shot. And then she kind of found the soft spot in his body armor is the way that I took it. I guess that's definitely a soft spot in his body armor down there.
I mean, I don't know because again, it's not confirmed, but the facial twitch that he has is like, getting felt around your abdomen can still feel pleasurable, but it seemed to me like she was genuinely checking out his junk and then kind of moves her hand up because you see her kind of jerk her arm, it looks like, and then go in for the stab.
I'm gonna take
So
your word for it. Yeah, it's
she
it's
now
pretty.
she
It's not family friendly for sure.
yeah, and she obviously can't be reaching all the way down his pants because she's got those claws on, and he's gonna immediately be like, "No, what are you doing? Get the hell off of that."
Yeah.
My point in part is not the specifics of where she's grabbing him, but the fact that they just met 3 minutes ago and fighting each other, and now they're on the side of a building, basically ready to just throw down in a sexual sense, as well as as well as a martial arts sense. But I mean, wow. Okay, hey, nice to meet you. I guess Batman
How do
is
you do?
like he would move real quick with those ladies. He doesn't care at all, and Catwoman is happy to exploit that. Our next action scene, we've got botched rescue. So The Ice Princess, I believe is her full name.
Yes,
Ice Princess has been
correct.
kidnapped by Penguin, and they have the whole plot to bring him down to their level. Mike, I think just in terms of actual little fights, this fight between him and Catwoman is the best one in the movie. I love it so much. They just kind of punch at each other really quick, and then he pushes her down and says, "Eat the floor, high
Oh
fiber."
God.
I laugh every single time he says it. I love it.
I'd forgotten about that, and that was definitely a groaner from me
Oh
on
man, no
rewatch.
way. High fiber.
Eat
Love it.
floor, high fiber. Who wrote that? Come on.
She pulls some more cool whip stuff in here. He gets tricked, goes on the roof. The ice princess falls. Guy goes, "Batman, push the ice princess." And he's like, just
Classic,
standing there.
classic Batman,
Total.
scapegoatism.
Absolutely. Set him up like that all the time. Then Batman has to flee quite suddenly, slips and falls. Love the shot of him falling down, and then it's one long take, and Catwoman just climbs on top of him. So great. You get the mistletoe line here, looks at her nails, and then attacks him again, and then he flies off, right?
I
Or
didn't
he,
understand this. Yeah, because he's hanging on the ledge and then somehow gets the upper hand, and then she's hanging by the ledge afterwards. I didn't really. It happens very quickly, and it's the way that it's cut is kind of confusing.
okay. He goes off, flies over the city. She's like checking out her nails, and the penguin comes. Another one of my favorite lines. You're just supposed to scare, like, she looked pretty scared to me.
Yeah,
Good stuff.
very evil. Yes.
Another just moment of the many in the misogyny. Let's hook up, baby. And she's like, I wouldn't touch you to scratch you. And then immediately he's violent towards her.
Yeah.
It's like as she rejects his sexual advances, he becomes violent towards her. I
He's like, I don't
mean,
think I like you anymore. Yeah.
I don't think I like you anymore. Bad stuff. Falling into
Misogyny incarnate there with the penguin.
absolutely. She goes, falls in the garden, and then we get the big Batmobile chase scene, remote control Batmobile.
Yes.
Love it. I mean, this is so sick. This is the best Batmobile moment in the first two films, hands down.
Whoa,
Um,
really?
I think so. I mean, it's just smashing through all the cars. Penguin in his little, like, arcade game version of the Batmobile driving it. I love that. And just him screaming about it. And then we get the Bat missile where he's like, all right, wait, I gotta eject the sides so I can go through the super narrow alley.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
Ejects the
yeah.
sides, goes through the alley.
Shades
Uh,
of Dark Knight coming in later on that. Yeah.
Totally. So sick. For sure, the best Batmobile sequence for me in both films. So, our last action scene, March of the Penguins. Penguin's plot has been foiled. He just wants his revenge now. So, he's going to send his army of penguins out in the streets of Gotham to just blow everything up. Forget the firstborn kids. We're just going to take the whole town down all the way through, really, I guess, the end of the movie. I mean, again, this is so efficient. Batman, of course, thwarts the plot. To your point, Mike, there's so many little things that come back to pay off later. And one of those is the clown who's like, I don't know about killing first. Isn't that a little much? Penguin shoots him. So he has a gun that then falls to the bottom of the pool that Max Schreck, when he escapes, dives down and finds that ends up being an important gun. I mean, there's just so many little details that pay off later. I thought that was clever. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff between him and Selena is so good. Kissing Max Schreck and just burning him alive. It's so sick, so iconic.
How did she not burn alive?
Well, because she had 9 lives, Mike. That was the whole, they
Okay,
said
yeah,
that,
the cat imagery, I know. They went a
Um,
little too hard with the cat imagery with her character, I feel like. Yeah, no, this works really well, I think, for me. And the March of the Penguin scene, which, by the way, very well done, sir, when it comes to naming these action
you
sequences.
know,
Yeah.
of course.
When I was watching the movie, I was like, this is someone's job was to dress all of these real penguins in, in all these little rockets and like metal caps that insinuate mind control and everything. I was like, someone's job was to dress real penguins for this scene. And I just kind of chuckled to myself for that. And then looking back on it, I realized that it was probably Stan Winston, the famous VFX and makeup artist of Hollywood, who's worked on things like Terminator 2 and Jurassic Park and even like Avatar and Aliens. Like this guy is a freaking legend when it comes to this. And here he is working on Batman Returns, dressing penguins in little, these little missile suits. I just got a good chuckle out of that, I thought.
There's a lot of animal stuff in this movie. I think PETA was like freaking out. They were very concerned for animals on this one.
That's funny because I read that the Penguins had it so good that apparently they were breeding on set, which is a sign that they're very comfortable and happy. The
That's
fact that
yeah.
more penguins came out of this movie than went into it is just hilarious to me.
That's how well the animals were treated, how not poorly they were treated was that they were
Exactly.
making more animals, yeah, in the process of making this. But there's monkey stuff, you got cat stuff, a lot of penguin stuff. Yeah, they talked to Stan Winston. He says, if we did our job right, you won't be able to tell which penguins we made from the ones that are actually real. They
Perfect.
did 3 versions of penguins. They had the Stan Winston animatronic. They had actual live penguins that were strapped in these ridiculous outfits, as you said, whose guy was like assuring in this behind the scenes, like, no, they're fine. They're having a good time. They're used to it. We trained them with these outfits on them. They like it. And then there were little people in the giant emperor penguin costumes.
No,
Yes, they were, I think, the ones at the very end that are like carrying the Joker's body. I think that's little people in emperor penguin outfits. So a mix of all three, yeah, to get it done. Yeah, Stan Winston, mission accomplished on this. So,
for sure.
all right. So which of these 4 action scenes are you going to pick for your favorite action scene, Mike? Red Triangle's opening assault, Christmas chaos, botched bat rescue, or March of the Penguins?
I'm going to go with the opening assaults at the beginning of the movie. I think that that is pretty indicative of Batman, pretty iconic of what you think of when you think of Batman, of him just fighting goons dressed as clowns, no matter if it's Joker or Penguin. And this movie spawned one of the greatest Sega Genesis slash Super Nintendo games of all time, the Batman Returns video game that came out in '93. And that first opening level is this scene. And to me, that's like, it's a direct connection in my brain that when I think of Batman or Batman video games or just Batman Returns or Batman 1, that level comes to my mind. And so I would not have that level if not for this movie. I'm going with what burns in my head here, which is the opening assault of the movie from the Red Triangle Gang.
That's amazing. I was wondering about that. I never played that game, but I
Are you
saw that.
serious?
Yeah, no, I never played it.
Oh
Yeah,
man,
I
come on
saw that
over. We'll
they're
play it.
okay. Sweet. Yeah, I would love to give it a shot. I gotta go with Christmas Chaos, the second one. This is where we get our first early Catwoman stuff. The scene in the department store. I just love the Penguin coming in and his whole thing, just taunting Batman, basically saying, "I saw her first." All the way through it. You get a little hand to hand with at the beginning with some of it, and then a little bit of everything in this scene. It's definitely my favorite. Non-action scene. This is a tough one this week. Here's what I got: the Penguin's introduction, the scene really with him coming and accepting his family's birthright and emerging from the sewers after stealing the mayor's baby. It's really pitched, but there's great music. I guess we didn't talk about Danny Elfman's score yet. This is the perfect spot to do it because I think this is some of the best
Yeah,
Danny
sure.
Elfman stuff in the movie. I think this is a better score than Batman, and we said that the last one was like the most iconic score of all time. I would stand by that because obviously I think he's riffing on a lot of the musical motifs that he came up with in this one, but he had to write new music for both Catwoman and especially the Penguin's character. The Penguin's themes in this are awesome. I think the music is really haunting and has that classic Danny Elfman gothic sound to them, but really like mournful and appropriate at times. This is a really great showcase for what I believe to be an amazing all-time classic film score. We also get Selina's origin story near this part, returns getting thrown out the window. That whole scene with Max Schreck. What is particularly insidious about this scene is that he gives her a gaslight right before he tries to kill her.
Yeah,
He's like, "What, you thought I was really gonna do it?" and starts laughing, and it's so funny. And then, no, he says, "Actually, it's a lot like that." And then he gaslights her, and they laugh, and then he pushes her out
right.
of the window when she's not expecting it. Oh, she's treated so badly in this movie. Her vengeance is so sick.
I guess it was a dummy of Michelle Pfeiffer laying on the ground outside when her body hits the ground, and all the cats come up and they had like rigged the body up with like catnip and all these different things that the cats had come up to. I thought that was kind of a clever way to do that scene where she comes back to life with 9 lives as Catwoman.
That's amazing. This is just some of the best stuff. The shot with her falling out of the window, the camera follows her the whole fall down. I feel like
Yeah.
that's been done, but like that was probably one of the first times I saw that move. Just a total zombie as she returns home, and then just going to town on her old stuff. She hears the message from the department store, which is a callback to when her first answering machine message, the neon lights, Mike. We got to talk about this. So, this shot of her walking into her bedroom, you see
Yeah.
her knock
Uh-huh.
out 2 nights. You can't actually see from the angle they shoot it at what the words are on the neon lights. So then you kind of forget that she had done that. And when it's all said and done and she's stitched together the cat suit, it goes to the wide shot from outside, and you say, instead of hello there, it says hell here. Blew my mind, bro. This was the mind-blowing shot, cleverness. It just, I was like, oh, they even paid off that part.
Yeah, sure.
I'd forgotten about just seconds before. I just absolutely love it. And then, of course, I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel so much yummier. I mean, come on, man. Like, when you're 13 and you're considering if I should start rebelling, and then this movie comes out and it's about institutions like Shrek's department store and how they're the actual evil ones. And the freaks like Selena Kyle are actually the good guys. It tips you in favor of going the freak route. I will just say that from personal experience. Next scene, Max and Bruce meeting. Such a banger, Mike. This is just such a great scene. These two titans of industry going back and forth. Bruce just being like, was that a shots fired? I didn't mean to offend you. Why are you offended? No one can have too much power. If my life has meaning, this is its meaning. Iconic line. Shows what you know, mister. Such great stuff here. Selena showing up, surprising.
That's what makes it really interesting is when she shows up and that introduces that third wheel, and then they're both like, I guess, just completely infatuated by her to the point where they've completely forgotten about what they were talking about in the business, and they're both like, "Oh, she's here." Max is more interested in how she's alive, but also Bruce is interested in just being with her. So the dynamic completely shifts when she walks into the room, which is I thought was the most interesting part.
Next scene is the campaign launch. Penguin has 6 secret layers in this movie. This is just like a dark, dingy room, but I think it just looks so perfect for him. Like he's trying to fit in like a normal room and not this penguin cave that he has. And it's like, it's just Spartan. There's nothing on the walls. It's just dusty and deteriorated. And then he walks down the steps and he steps into this giant fluorescently lit room with
Yeah,
all these
exactly.
white people cheering for him and all that. I love the contrast. This is just great stuff.
I appreciate the contrast, but like, what possible building is there that has a second floor that feels like it's the top of a castle tower that's just boarded up, and then all of a sudden the bottom? I've never seen that before, where like the bottom floor is like a an office structure.
Yeah, no, that there's totally places like that.
I
Uh, yeah.
okay, never seen that. I will say though, I appreciated that his campaign artwork. I don't know if you noticed the promotional campaign artwork of him like holding the umbrella and like his profile view. That's Alex Ross, bro. That was his
Oh,
artwork.
nice.
Famed
I
comic artist Alex Ross.
That's cool.
Glad
I
to
didn't
see it
realize he
still.
did that.
Yeah.
Yeah, good research. That's sick. Yeah, he's a creep and he bites the dude's nose and blood shoots everywhere and it's sick. Disgusting and sick in the metaphorical and literal sense. Next one
Press.
after this is really pretty similar when he's back for the next press conference and he's talking to the electorate, the hottest young person a role model could have. Very into it. And then he gets a visit from Michelle Pfeiffer, Catwoman, who literally put a live bird in her mouth for that shot,
Yeah.
which is phenomenal that she did that and that they captured it. I mean,
I
This
can't
is
even
again,
imagine doing that.
PETA was probably like, what the hell happened in this scene? There's got to be some kind of violation, but the bird flies off. I mean, I'm
She
sure it
didn't
didn't
hurt it.
like being in her mouth for a minute, but yeah, it's fine. Like he's
Yeah.
okay. Yeah, some really gross stuff from the penguin in the scene and some really hot stuff from Michelle Pfeiffer. Gotta love it. Next up, we've got the awkward date with Selena. This is where we get the Vicky backstory stuff. They broke up. She had difficult with duality
Yep.
because I had difficulty with duality. Sickos never scare me. At least they're committed. Just great. And then, of course, Alfred has to do the cover story for each of them. Love that scene. It's great. I got a question for you here, Mike. She asks Alfred to make up a sonnet or a dirty limerick, and he says, one has just sprung to mind. Why don't you, what was Alfred thinking at that point? Why don't you give us a sonnet or a dirty limerick, bro?
There once was a cat from Nantucket. I don't know. That's all I got off the top of my head. That was one of my questions too, was what is the dirty limerick that he was referring to?
I think it was something of like, yeah, there once was a woman into cats. She fell for a man who was bats. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think I can freestyle limericks like that, bro. But yeah, I'd love to know if you have any theories as to Alfred's dirty limerick. Please leave it in the comments.
Absolutely.
That's the comment call to action for this episode. Leave us Alfred's dirty limerick from Batman 2. Next is the downfall of Oswald Cobblepot. First off, it starts with the cool secret passage into the Batcave using the mace in the fish tank. What a sick way to get into a room.
That
Absolutely
was
gotta
great.
love that.
That was great.
He busts him on tape, right? And a couple thoughts on this scene. Number one, there's got to be a place in Gotham City that just rents out television production equipment for whoever because the Joker had it in the last one. And now it's Batman and Bruce Wayne that are interrupting the live TV signal. It's like, this is really sophisticated technology to take over live airwaves. I know that because of my job, but they can do it in Gotham City. So there's got to be a spot that just is like, you want to interrupt a broadcast in the middle of Gotham City? We've got you. Like, looking for your evil manifesto or trying to bust the penguin? We're your spot.
I can't abide on the CD scratching either in this scene. I'm sorry, that's not how CDs work. That's not how scratching works. No, I'm calling BS on that scene.
That's totally fair. That's totally fair. Last one, the loathsome party hosted by the odious Mr. Shrek. That's
Well
how
done again
Alfred
on the naming. Yeah.
describes it. Yeah, this is a really good, I mean, this is a great scene. He kind of Max Shrek villain monologues at him. I am the light of the city and I'm its mean, twisted soul. Just so good. I love the Susie and the Banshees song. The only diegetic needle drop in the movie, unlike the Prince soundtrack from the
Right.
original Batman.
Yeah.
No hard feelings. Semi hard, I'd say. This is the first time I picked
Oof.
up on that specific sexual innuendo in a movie that is loaded with him. I had not caught that.
Loaded.
Just loaded with sexual innuendo. It's insane.
Penguin specifically is very horny in this movie.
He's the most I'm
He's
busting you with HR. You are canceled, Penguin. Like, you know what? I'm gonna just go ahead and say it. Now I'm gonna count this scene all the way through. It is a semi-action scene that Penguin emerges through the floor and scares everybody by telling them he's gonna take their firstborn sons. Max Shrek sacrifices himself for his son. This scene to me runs all the way through Batman saving the kids and then the amazing transition where it pushes in on his disgusting black mouth
oh
to
god.
transition. This is my favorite scene, non-action scene. I think I'm gonna call it. I mean, there's so many. Like I love all of these scenes, and Selena Kyle's origin is a close second for me because that whole sequence is phenomenal. But yeah, I love the dance. I love the reveal that they figure out what's going on. I think the actual stunt work when those people get blown up when Penguin's like coming out of the floor is sick stunt work. Yeah, I love this scene. So yeah, that's my pick. What's your favorite non-action scene?
I think I'm gonna go the awkward date with Selena, and I think it's a very interesting dynamic of what's happening here, where he's kind of making out with her and then reveals her sleeve to she's trying to hide the acid burn on her arm, and then she feels him up and he's trying to hide the scratch that she left on him and his abdomen there. I think it's a really good kind of back and forth. I don't think Alfred approves of this relationship. He was very on board with Bruce taking advantage of a drunken Vicky Vale, and he doesn't like this new harlot who's come in to take her place. He's not taking her to the kitchen to share young Master Bruce stories, you know. But I think that it's a good dynamic of what's happening here, and they're both kind of hiding things from each other, but also trying to slowly reveal things from each other. And I think that that's a good dynamic between characters here. So that's my pick of the best non-action scene.
Yeah, they're all great. That's a good call. All right, now we got to talk death and destruction. How many people died in this movie? I mean, Batman's out here murdering at least two because he sets the one guy on fire, unless he just got third degree burns all over his entire body, but somehow survived.
He's
That's at
not
least
Wile E.
two.
Coyote, like holding up a help sign.
I don't think the death count though is all that high. Are those the only besides the Penguin himself? I mean, who else dies in this movie?
Well, Max Shrek dies. He gets burned to a crisp, as we talked about.
Yeah, you got Shrek.
You could technically say that Selena herself dies by being pushed out a window, but then comes back to life. She dies 7 times out of 9.
I mean, there's like a handful of deaths for sure, but including some major characters in horrific fashion.
Penguin dies.
Yeah,
The Penguins have a funeral procession for him.
relatively speaking, I didn't think it
We can keep it
was.
at 10 or less, I think.
Yeah, I think this one was not nearly as violent as the last one was in terms of overall deaths. That's for sure. Now it's time for the good guy and bad guy section. This is our favorite and least favorite supporting character in the film. My good guy, Mike, is Alfred. I think Alfred is awesome in this one. He's way better than the first one. He has so many funny, quippy one-liners. I love when he says, "Must you be the only lonely man beast running around Gotham City?" Just so many good things. The whole dirty limerick line, helping him out with the penguin CD, that whole section. Alfred is way better in this one. What I'm realizing between this and the animated series, which I've been watching quite a bit, he's like kind of good comic relief. Like Alfred is there during this era to just have some funny lines. He's gonna help where he can, but it's a long way to the Michael Caine version where he's like an integral instrumental part of like Batman's plans and everything. He does a little more in this one,
Yeah.
like I said, the Vichy moment. Yeah, it's Alfred. Alfred's my good guy. Who you got?
Ah, man, I actually think Alfred was a little worse in this one than the previous one. I understand that he doesn't like Selena Kyle, and so he's very negative on her, and like he doesn't like her as much as Vicky Vale. But
You keep saying that, but I didn't get that. I didn't pick that up
really,
necessarily.
no,
No.
he's very disapproving of Bruce. Every time he mentions Selena Kyle, he like has a look of disappointment to him where he's like, "No, what are you doing?" I don't know. It's just that's the feeling that I got from Alfred, but I would go best supporting character. My good guy is Christopher Walken as Max Shrek. I think that he is absolutely fantastic as like the third build villain, we talked about, where he's like trying to do some weird business scheme where he's creating a power plant, but he has some redeeming qualities we talked about. He's willing to say, no, Penguin, don't take my son, you take me. Like that's very honorable, I think, for a villain to do something like that. Even though he's kind of an idiot, when Bruce Wayne finally reveals himself and he's like, Bruce Wayne, what are you doing dressed up like Batman? Like, come on, bro. Yeah, of course, Selena Kyle says, he is Batman, you moron. Like, yeah, of course. So
Good joke to me. I'm just like, yeah, he's an idiot.
he's an
He
idiot.
can't, he only sees what he wants to see. That's Max Shrek.
And that's kind of the archetype of a high business executive is that they only hear what they want to hear and they only see what they want to see. So I think that he plays that really very well. And I think that he's the best supporting actor of the role.
Who do you got for your bad guy?
Andrew Brinarsky, who plays Chip, Shrek. I don't know
You're gonna
what
do
that
that.
guy is doing.
Oh no, you're gonna shit on Chip. It's too bad. It's too bad. Disappointed in you, son.
Why is he doing a Christopher Walken impression? He couldn't do his own thing?
It's funny. So on the one hand, he's clearly like the worst actor, so to speak, in this movie.
Yeah.
But I also actually think like what he's doing is he's playing this part. His father is just like babied him. He's a nepo baby. He's not all that bright,
Sure.
but he's been brought along by his dad. And so I feel like his performance is leaning into that. His weird walking accent, I think, is part of that because he sounds just so clumsy and stupid. I was like, really thought about this. I see what you're talking about for sure, but I decided at some point that he was making a calculated decision in this
No.
performance choice.
No. The decision
I,
was I'm Christopher Walken's son, so I'm going to try and sound like him as much as possible.
It's fair. It's a fair criticism. It's fair. For me, I'm going right back to the mayor. I cannot believe the mayors of Gotham City. These are the worst elected officials in the history of cinema. He is so bad. He literally, as I mentioned, says like, "We will not stand for this type of crime," and his baby gets kidnapped instantaneously. Instantaneously. Furthermore, serious acts of violence going down at the Christmas tree in Gotham Square. It's just not safe.
No, it's not.
Christmas is canceled, Gotham. I'm sorry. For your safety and ours. And yet, 2 days later, hey, guess what? We won the war on crime. We're relighting the Christmas tree. Oh, what do you know? This woman is falling to a death, and bats are going to fly out of the tree, traumatizing every kid in attendance for the rest of their poor, miserable lives. Just an absolute buffoon of a character. I cannot believe this man, who's, by the way, last time at least he had a last name, Mayor Borg.
Yeah.
This dude is just the mayor. He's just the mayor. Unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I mean, no offense on Michael Murphy. His performance is totally solid. Like, it's not an acting thing. I just cannot believe this character. He's unbelievable to me, Mike. Now we're going to talk about secret layers, gadgets, and costuming. I said it before. I think the Penguin secret layer is like one of the all timers. I love his den with his penguins in the water. It's so cool overall. Everything about it is really cool. And
The sewer layer?
yeah, and as he says at the top, I love this line to Max Shrek. He says, "What you put on your toilet, I put on my mantle." He's down there just collecting all the dirt on Gotham City,
Yep.
waiting to expose them and their secrets. You are a well respected monster. I am, as of yet, not. Just some of the best line deliveries. I absolutely love it. Sick secret lair. And I think we get a lot more of the Batcave in this one than we did in the first one. And the Batcave is just so cool. It's the iconic secret lair probably in all of superhero cinema. We haven't really gone to the level of like we're putting dinosaurs and giant pennies and all that stuff in there. It'll come eventually, at least in the comics. Yeah, the Batcave is just such a sick secret lair, and we finally get a little bit more of it in this one. So absolutely love that.
Batman's cowl, I was ragging on in the last one a little bit, but it looks much better in this iteration. I think I said that last time it looked a little bit like an X-Acto knife had cut the eye holes, and that was not the case this time. It didn't look clunky. It didn't look like there was a bunch of fingerprints all over it, and his cowl was definitely improved upon in the next iteration of the movies. You talked a bit about the Batcave and how sick it looks. It definitely felt a little different this time, but I think that Wayne Manor itself felt different in this iteration. Bruce is like sitting by the fireplace a lot more, watching TV or making out with Selena, and it felt very open and spacious, and it felt like if I had a mansion that this was the kind of room space that I would have where like I have a couch sitting by a fire with a TV nearby, but there's still a lot of room in this kind of situation.
Yeah, we didn't mention it earlier, but this was an all new Wayne Manor, and they partially built the sets. It's a different interior, so yeah, it did have a different feel in this one, and I think you nailed it. It's more realistic, I suppose, as to what I would imagine, like a spot where Bruce Wayne is living now. So, and I don't think we can end this part without a discussion, briefly at least, about the batarang. Pulls out the batarang, assesses the situation, puts it in the actual matrix of the batarang itself,
Yeah.
hits everyone but the dog, which then they use to frame Batman, and yet another tight little bit of writing. Yeah, it's sick. That batarang shot where it's like first person batarang cam and it goes around and knocks all of them. I love it. That is by far the coolest equipment in this movie, right?
Yeah, and that was CG, kind of a little bit ahead of its time. Apparently, they just filmed a POV camera going around from person to person and then inserted a CG battering.
Batman's secret identity in this movie. I think he does a better job in this one than the first one in terms of protecting it. He doesn't actually invite people into his car to sit just inches away from his face where they might discover that he's Bruce Wayne. Selena obviously does figure it out, but I think it speaks volumes that Max Schreck, as you just brought up, is like, I can't believe it. Like, he's been selling this so hard that even when he takes off the cowl and he sees it for himself, he can't believe it. I give you a lot of props, Batman. You've done a good job maintaining your secret identity. That's where I stand.
It's a little ham-fisted where they're having the conversation about mistletoe, and if you eat it, it's deadly. He could have easily been like, okay, that's a weird thing to say. I'm not gonna reciprocate to this line to give myself away. But she just gave herself away as being Catwoman because I said that to her like 15, 20 minutes earlier. But instead, he's like, hey, Catwoman, do you want to know my secret identity? Like, it's part of Batman's cliche is that he's hitting on women to like give away his identity. I will say that Alfred doesn't specifically give away his identity on his behalf in this movie. I know you're shaking your head.
Again, I cannot hashtag this hashtag enough. Justice for Alfred. Leave the
Bro,
poor man alone.
Batman called him out in the second movie from the
I
events of the first movie.
I don't care. I still am hashtag justice for Alfred. That doesn't bother me at all. But Mike, there are some things that bother me about this movie, and let's discuss them now in a section called I've Got Questions.
I want to ask you a bunch of questions, and I want to have them answered immediately.
Questions. Questions that need answering.
Too many questions. There's too many questions. There's just too many. Yeah. I'll ask the questions.
All right, Mike, let me just start right at the top because I think this is somewhat philosophical, but do you think the Penguin was just born sociopathic and that even if his parents had tried to raise him right, he would have ended up just being a psycho? Because
Ooh.
it's kind of a chicken or the egg question. So on the one hand, we see him grab the family cat and pull it into his cage and like
Yes.
hurt the cat. He's an infant and he's already hurting animals for pleasure. On the other hand, he's locked in a freaking cage. He's inside of a cage. What kind of parent puts their baby in a cage? So I don't know if they were sociopathic and therefore they passed that on with how they raised him very early in his infancy, or if he was born bad.
Well, I will say, as soon as he pulls the cat into his cage, they just kind of look at each other, and I think they even cheers each other, or like they drink their drinks at the same time. So it's like,
Yeah, they're alcoholics. I mean, that
yeah,
part was really clear. He is alcoholic parents for sure.
what you were asking is like nature versus nurture conversation in a way, and
Yeah.
that was not a nurturing environment for a child in that capacity.
Yeah. Yeah, it's hard to say. I think that's kind of ambiguous, but it's worth exploring. What's your first question?
At the very first sign of trouble in Gotham City, Commissioner Gordon is like, flip the switch, go ahead and do it already. And we see the bat signal light up into the sky, and then some mirrors reflect the light down into Wayne Manor, where Bruce Wayne is just like thinking introspectively by himself for some reason. And we get a great cinematic shot of the bat signal lighting up the inside of Wayne Manor and him standing up and like feeling the call to action here. First of all, what happens if Bruce Wayne has guests in that moment? Like, how do you explain, oh yeah, I have a very intricate series of mirrors set up to shine the bat signal into my study room.
I think he just goes like, I'm just super into Batman. I know a lot of us are really interested in him. I think it's super cool. So I'm hoping to maybe I can go out there and see him in the wild. And you just explain it that way. But that's a great point.
But also, that's not how mirrors work because you have to have a mirror in the sky. Like the light has to shine into a mirror, not just into the sky, to reflect down into Wayne Manor somehow. So that didn't make any sense to me at all, the way that that was set up.
Excellent point. I love it. Similarly, who's the tech genius in the Red Triangle Gang? These are actual circus freaks that are like,
I'm glad you brought
they're
this
living in
up.
the sewers. They're like, but yet someone is so advanced they can come up with schematics for the Batmobile and like figure out how to really break through the advanced lock system and then put in a thing. Again, I got questions about the fabricator who comes up with like, I need a customized arcade game that's exactly like the Batmobile, and it uses like, geez, they've got
100%.
just go to
100%.
that person to get your criminals. But yeah, I'm just curious. Like, I think it is the blonde lady. She seems to be the tech genius in the group, but
The
it
one
begs
with Precious
questions.
from
Yeah.
Silence of the
Yeah,
Lambs.
the one Precious's mom seems to be the tech genius. But I've got serious questions about how they got all this highly specialized tech training.
My next question, Selena Kyle is checking her answering machine, and there's like full-blown advertisements on her voicemail coming through at the end. I have never experienced that. I've lived through the age of voicemail on a physical machine, on a cell phone, paid for voicemail service. I've never received a like, hey, Mike Carnes, it's time for you to call and check your long distance voicemail. That's never happened to me before. How is this something that's happening in Gotham City?
It's a fair point. I'm gonna go with she works for Max Shrek, so he at some point sent out like a corporate memo that was like, "We're trying this new automated phone service. We need all employees to sign up for it." And that's how she got on there. But it's a fair question. My next question: so Batman stops the plot to kidnap the firstborn children. They're already like in cages. At
Yes.
least a handful of them have been captured already. How is Batman redistributing these children to their proper homes? Like he doesn't know which kid goes where. Does he just send up the bat signals like collect your stolen firstborn child at this location on Monday? I'll have them all here. You got to describe what your kid looks like, and then I'll know that it's the right baby to the right house. But like at that point, the kids are already on the train and they're soon to be in randomized cages. So I don't know how he's going to know how to get him back to the proper household.
That scene fizzled out very quickly.
And on a related note, it's kind of crazy to me that the Penguin has technology which apparently can send mental signals to penguins to order them where to
Sure.
go. It's literal like telepathy with animals.
Yeah, sure.
And
Why
then
not?
also, Batman also has access to that technology because he reverses the signal. I mean,
Right.
Alfred.
He hacks into it, yeah.
So everybody can just telepathically control animals and tell them like where to go and what to do with these helmets. Like that is world altering technology. If that was the case, we would be living in a future of like animal servants and we'd be really close to Planet of the Apes at this point.
That's a
It's
great
just
question.
really wild that that's a technology that they want to introduce into the Batman films here.
All right, I got one for you. Penguin visits his parents' grave, and then the next spinning headline that appears on screen is Penguin forgives parents. Is that really front page news material? I have never
That's a good.
seen like existential crisis be front page material on any major metropolitan newspaper before.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I mean, discovers his parents are dead, finds his full thing. Okay, that's headline news. But the fact that he's actively forgiving them from, and they're in the grave, like all you got to do is be like, that should be like the almost the last sentence of that piece, right? Is like, and a reporter asked, like, do you forgive them? And he was like, I suppose,
Yeah, exactly.
yeah, that's not the lead. Great point. Just another one, and this speaks to a larger point of police incompetence in this movie, which is very, very apparent. I mean, the cops are utterly worthless in this movie. Batman is like, okay, I'm heading to this super narrow alley. Gotta hit the button to release the wings on the side of the Batmobile and shoot through like a rocket. The cops are just like, yeah, no, I can make it. I could totally make it. And it's like immediately they just smash into the wall, and then the next one just smashes into that one. Come on, cops. How incompetent are you in Gotham City? This is really, really bad policing this entire film.
I'm going to see you and raise you. What city planner would create an alleyway that's impossible for a normal streetcar to just pass through on its own? That doesn't
100%.
happen. Yeah.
He was like
Um,
Motorcycle Alley. That's what it's called.
yeah, apparently. My next question, the Penguin and his gang have apparently blueprints to the Batmobile. Like they show blueprints on the whiteboard there.
Yeah.
How do they have blueprints? This is a very secretive vehicle. It's not like you could just go on to AOL at the time, 1993, and download Batmobile blueprints, you know. How do they
Yeah.
have that? How do they know how to your point, how do they know how to hack into that like or create a miniature version of a Batmobile for him to control? I don't understand any of that.
Yeah. It's wild.
Within that same scene, Bruce Wayne is like analyzing the Batmobile to try and figure out how to get out of this situation where the Penguin has hacked his car, and then he just punches through the bottom of the floor. This is an armored car that we're talking about. It is clearly capable of withstanding bullets and things like that. How is he able to not just punch through the bottom of like a 1993 Honda Civic? Even that alone would be impossible for a normal human being to do. But he punches through the floor of the Batmobile to figure out how to get to this hacking device that's taking control of the Batmobile. That's physically impossible, Mark. I'm sorry.
Fair. Yeah. I can't answer that question.
And then I'll leave it at this. I got a few more, but I'll leave it at the last one here. At the end of the movie, when Bruce Wayne reveals his identity to Selena Kyle and Max Schreck, he tears off his own cowl and it's like rubber ripping off at the seams. Does that mean that he has to do that every time he takes off the batsuit? Is he tearing off the cowl every time, or is there a more efficient way that he's doing this? Or is it just for dramatic effect? I don't really quite understand what's happening here with the bat cowl.
Interesting. That's a really good point. Yeah. I mean, I think it was definitely for dramatic effect, but it also leads to one of the biggest movie continuity errors of all time. And one that I
Ooh,
noticed
do tell.
was like the first time I was like, I cracked the illusion of movies. So he's like giving a speech and then he's like, we're the same. And then he takes it off. And when he says that last line, you look at his eyes and
Yes.
he doesn't have the makeup on. I had never noticed that he had makeup on until I noticed that he didn't have makeup on at that point. And then all of a sudden it becomes a continuity error in the film as opposed to he just put on black eyeliner, which is acceptable. And in fact, the Robert Pattinson movie actually incorporates that in. I know that
100%.
is the
Yeah.
look also of Christian Bale. They never address it directly, but I feel like this one continuity error in Batman Returns created like a plot device for future Batman where it's like, oh, we have to point out the fact that he's actually putting on eye black underneath the cowl.
Great
It
point.
is kind of fascinating to me. So, all right, my last question is that really big picture about the people of Gotham and how they can be so gullible and naive, Mike. Because in the last film, you have the Joker who has very clearly and goes on live television to tell everyone, I'm the one that's doing this. I'm murdering people with cosmetics. Then he's like, I'm back. And guess what? I'm not the bad guy. I'm actually a really good guy who's going to give out a bunch of money, which you got to know at this point that that is ill-gotten funds, people of Gotham. The money that he's giving away is not like, I am a great philanthropist and we had such a surplus in money that I'm going to give it away while fully funding the children's hospital. Like, they know that's ill-gotten money and they're all out there. Give me some money. Let's go, Joker. Now, here in Batman Returns, you have an absolute bloodbath massacre with motorcycle riding skeletons
Yes.
and terrifying circus freaks. And you're like, yeah, I'll come back for the tree relighting ceremony in 3 days. Like, sure, nothing bad could possibly happen the second time now. I mean, At some point, it's on you, Gotham
Yeah,
citizen, to protect
100%.
yourself. Batman can't be out here protecting you from your own stupidity. You have to take some accountability and not fall for this crap. What are you doing?
This is the why would you ever live in Metropolis plot point, you know? At some point it's on you, like you said. Superman fights every battle here. There's always monsters here. You could just move to freaking Denver or move to, Portland, Oregon at some point because that's nothing is happening there when it comes to superheroes.
Joker literally says it in the first Batman. Decent people shouldn't live here. They'd
Yes.
like it better someplace else. And it's like, yes, that's exactly the lesson. So maybe that by that lesson, all that's left are like risk seeking, dangerous people who are like, no, I do like the thrill of potentially getting murdered at Christmas carnivals. I'm in on it. But this also segues into our discussion about what this movie really all about. And Mike, let me tell you, this is a very rich text. There is so much to discuss here. I think the themes are deep, starting with the duality in all of these characters. So obviously, Bruce Wayne slash Batman. You got Selena Kyle and Catwoman, and of course, Oswald Cobblepot and the Penguin. Duality is kind of inherent in every superhero. I think it was explored well in this, but I think it's also one of those like you can go down this lane and literally every superhero movie because of that, or at least ones with secret identities. So to me, that's not nearly as compelling as the themes around commercialism, which is where the Christmas part comes in. Oh, look, I'm Max Shrek. I'm just going to throw out a bunch of chintzy gifts to you and tell you if I could give world peace wrapped in a bow, I would. I mean, the corniest possible lines and the way that people are falling for him just because he's the quote unquote golden boy of Gotham City who's completely corrupt. We already discussed the misogyny in this film and
Yeah.
those elements thematically and how Catwoman is a feminist icon. But I think at the end of the day, Mike, when you take all of these different elements and you put them all together, the broader theme comes down to the blind conformity and trust in corrupt institutions, and that leading to the necessity of outsider freaks like Batman and Catwoman. The police, totally incompetent, as we discussed. The mayor is disinterested. He has not a bit of hold on the city. It's being run by Max Shrek and these supervillains with Batman cleaning up all of the shrapnel. Shrek himself is an amoral industrialist, a phenomenal world-class bullshitter, someone who says the exact opposite into the microphones as he does into private discussions. Him and the mayor are literally talking smack to each other as they're walking right up to the microphones and then like, oh, hey, everybody, like it's us, best friends, like the guiding lights of
Right.
Gotham.
Yeah.
When the institutions themselves are so feckless, you have to have someone like Batman to come in and actually clean it up. I think this movie really is I mean, this is always somewhat of a theme. It's anytime you have Gotham City, that's inherent in the actual premise of the city itself because if everything was going great, they don't need Batman, right? So there has to be a degree of incompetence to necessitate Batman. But I felt that that particular theme, and specifically again around mindless conformity of like, it's Christmas, buy some presents, shop, spend money, trust Max Shrek, vote for the Penguin. These just blind trusting, it really is a very strong argument to forget conformity, forget mainstream stuff, and just buy into whatever system you yourself have. Become that outsider like Batman. What do you think?
That's very interesting. I hadn't considered any of those aspects actually while watching the movie, and I kind of went a different direction than you did. My what's it all about synopsis, I think, was I feel like Tim Burton is kind of taking pity on his villains in this movie, and that it's really about that like freaks are people too. We see Penguin, we see Catwoman, we see even Bruce Wayne to a respect, is like, I think someone says, like, you wish that you were a freak in the same kind of respect that we are.
Oh no, Mike. I think about this line
Yeah.
literally all the time. He's fighting the Penguin, and the
Yes.
Penguin jumps on top of him, and he says to Batman, "You're just jealous because I'm a genuine freak, and you have to wear a mask."
That's
And
right.
Batman says, "You might be right."
Yeah.
I think about that line all the time,
Okay.
all the
Yeah.
time. And I think
So
that you're spot on with this. If I may, I think
yeah,
to
go ahead.
extrapolate a little from there, it's in some ways a measure of gatekeeping around, can you be part of the subculture, or are you just a poser who's putting on a mask to join us? Are you actually part of this club, or are you just someone who likes this thing about it? Are you willing to go all the way to be the genuine freak? Catwoman and Penguin, they're real ones. They are willing to go all the way. Max Shrek and Batman are not. In Max Shrek's case, he needs to protect a persona, an air of respectability. I think Bruce Wayne is the inverse of that because he has contempt for the Bruce Wayne billionaire and is actually
Mm,
identifies with the freak side of himself.
okay. Yeah.
So the way these different dynamics of you're a genuine freak or you're just wearing a mask plays out in this film and frankly everywhere in life in my mind is something I think about a lot. I think it's a really rich theme in this film. I think the last theme of this film was utterly preposterous, Mike, until about 10 years ago when a certain politician arrived on the scene. I'm not going to name any names. I see this person as something of a hybrid between the character of Max Shrek and Oswald Cobblepot, the penguin. Think about it. They're a corrupt industrialist who wants to use political power for personal aims rather than the greater good. They use their position of authority and power and celebrity to take advantage of women and brag about that. They show open contempt for the electorate who's supposed to be voting for them. And they consistently present themselves as a victim in order to gain sympathy among a certain portion of the population. I could be talking about any number of politicians and therefore shall remain unnamed, but I would say that it is with great horror have I seen what seemed like a utterly ridiculous and fantastical scenario regarding politics slowly take shape in real life.
Take that, Ted Cruz.
I'm talking about Joe Biden, of course, ladies and gentlemen.
Yes, of course.
Of course, I'm referring to the last president, Joe Biden. All right, Mike, it's time for our final verdict now. This is where we rate the movie on a scale of classic, great, good, okay, bad, or terrible. Keen-eyed listeners can probably discern at this point where I'm coming down. I think this movie is not only a classic superhero film, I think it's a top 10 superhero film for me personally,
Wow.
easily.
Okay.
And I think when it's all said and done in 20 years, when we've completed every single superhero film, it's entirely possible this might even be on my Mount Rushmore of top 4 superhero films. I think
What?
this is vastly superior to Batman. I think the story is tighter. I think the villains are better written. I think the performances are better. I think the production design is equal, if not better. I like the score just as much, if not more. I think the Batmobile stuff is sicker. We get more Batcave. I think the action is unquestionably better than it was in the first one. Mike, this is an absolute masterpiece of superhero cinema. I have a very worried feeling that you are not going to agree with me on this one. So let's go. What do you got, buddy?
I don't think it's a classic. I was actually leaning towards okay, but I think I'm going to go a little bit higher. I'm going to say good. I think that Bat
Okay? Just okay?
no, no, no. I was leaning towards okay. I'm going to say good. And I think that Batman is not a strong character. Alfred is not a strong character. Penguin, I talked a little bit about, but like he kind of spends half the movie just like grunting and being sexual and weird. And it's not really a character motivation to be sexual and weird, but it's like he has other motivations beyond that, of course. He ends up being a pretty good villain, but not a great villain like the Joker was. Catwoman is strange, but is also a very Tim Burton-y kind of character and is like Not that that's a bad thing, but in this respect, it kind of is because she's just like, she has too much cat persona. It's like, we don't need that much cat stuff. We don't need the nine lives thing. We don't need you bathing yourself, licking yourself in all the different perspectives. We don't need you drinking the saucer of milk to understand that you're a Catwoman. Like that's too much. They went overboard with Catwoman, I think. And I think that it's just like they tried to ramp things up in this movie, and ultimately I felt like they fell flat compared to the first one. I think that Tim Burton himself, based off of the comments that you've told me that he's delivered, maybe would even agree with his own creation. I'm gonna go ultimately it's good. I would say just from my own perspective, it's fine. Like this is a fine superhero movie. It's not classic, I don't think, but here we go. This is where we start to
Wow.
diverge
Yeah.
in the rankings. That we've
I
been pretty much in alignment so far, but here we go.
We have. Yeah, I just cannot disagree with you more. So I understand you're totally right. It is a lot of cat stuff. The cat puns are heavy. Licking herself, that whole I'm gonna take a bath. There's a lot of that. Now, there is some cheese in this movie, and I think this is a cornier movie to go back to the OG Batman stuff than the 89 Batman for sure. But the stylization, the way everyone is playing in that same frequency, I feel like the tone is consistent. Whereas the first film, again, a classic, I think we both agreed on that. The tone can be a little this and that. It's very episodic compared to this movie. It's kind of like this scene and then this scene and then this scene. Whereas this movie is this happens, therefore this happens, therefore
Yes.
this happens. The writing is just much, much stronger as far as the events in the script. And these are well developed characters for superhero films. I think villains in particular, they have taken a turn towards let's give this person some kind of not entirely evil motivation, whereas like the Joker is pure chaos, as that character should be. That's not to criticize the Joker or how it's portrayed in the first Batman, but the general way things should work is to have more complex characters in all films, I think. And we don't want just one note. That is, again, the nature of superhero cinema. You have good guys and bad guys. But I think this movie was the first to really portray those villains, as you said, as nuanced, complicated. I do think you're maybe right in saying that Tim Burton identifies more with the villains than the hero. I don't disagree with that at all. But again, I think when villains are this well written and this complex, let's show them. Like, let's go. And Catwoman is a very complicated character because what she's out for is revenge, whereas Batman's out for justice. You could say that, yes, Max Schreck definitely deserves what comes to him because he tried to kill her. So she is totally justified in then killing him because he would just kill her again if he could. But the idea that the violence that she unleashes is a result of a woman driven to her breaking point makes her
Yes.
kind of a hero in some respects, or at least not fully villainous. And I like that ambiguity around her character. And I think that is really true to her character as well. Like
Oh, for
she's
sure.
always kind of been, I'm bad, but I'm not like evil.
Yeah, and
And
she has a history of like helping Batman in the comics and like
exactly.
I'm gonna walk that line of being a criminal or being a superhero. I'm gonna either help the side of good or the side of evil, depending on what's most beneficial to me. And
Totally.
they did a good job of that in this movie for sure. But I just think that like some of the writing in that movie is not that good because it's a lot of it boils down to just like really explicit sexual innuendo, which doesn't really pan out, or like a lot of action scenes that don't make a lot of sense in the scheme of the universe. And like Batman's blowing people up, or Penguin has a mini Batmobile. Like, how did he even get that? Did someone make him a miniature Batmobile?
I
Like,
told you the fabricator is the
yeah.
clue to everything that happens in Gotham City. He's building balloons for the Joker. He's the arcade games for the Penguin.
Yeah,
Just
but who owns
investigate
that?
that guy. He's the key to everything.
There's a lot of like things that don't really quite make a lot of sense. And like Danny DeVito, half of him is great, and then half of him is like just making grunts and noises. So I can understand them not nominating him for a Razzie, but ultimately I don't think that he deserved it because there's so many other things about that character that are just absolutely fantastic on screen and are memorable and iconic. And so I think that a lot of these things are great, a lot of these things are not so great. So I'm going to kind of average them out into just being good or like fine. And so good is my ultimate grading here.
Well, as we've discussed, I am way too personally attached to these movies in my own memories to give them a fair assessment at this point in terms of critiquing them. The next two Batman movies, I'm not nearly as familiar with. We'll discuss those as we get into them, but I think I'll have a fresher set of eyes to look at these at. So I respect that. I can see where you're coming from. To me, like, this is elevated. Like, I feel like everybody elevated from the first one. Burton, the production design, Elfman, the acting, the story, like it's all just overall a better movie for me. And if we're going with classic with the last one, I think this one also is in that category. But respect your spot, Mike. I respect you. Now it's time for our final segment of the show, our recommendation corner. This is where we're going to recommend a comic book and a movie based around what we just saw, Batman Returns. So, Mike, why don't you kick us off with your comic book recommendation?
Yes, and this is not something Penguin or Catwoman specific, but it is Batman specific. And I think that Batman Court of the Owls is definitely something worth checking out for anyone who wants to investigate Batman and kind of get into the backstory of the Batman story arc. Court of the Owls came out at the beginning of what is the New 52 story arc, which is where DC decided to reboot 52 of their characters and like start them all over again from scratch. And so Batman, his beginning story arc in that sequence was kind of a semi origin story, but they put a spin on it, and I won't give anything away, but it became a different origin for Bruce Wayne, and to where it wasn't just him and his parents dying and that something else was introduced there. It became something completely new, and the artwork is really good throughout Court of the Owls, and it introduced a new villain into the Gotham Rogues Gallery, and I think that it's a good read for anybody who wants to kind of come into something new and fresh with Batman, but also maybe is trying to learn about the character as a whole. And I think it's a good place to start for their reading journey.
Yeah, I was always curious about New 52 and what they were doing there, but yeah, I'll check that one out. I'm going with a extremely iconic comic book, one that's almost unfair to take off the board in terms of recommendations at this point, but I do think just given that this is the final Tim Burton film and is extremely dark in a lot of respects and is one of the books that he cited influencing the tone that he was going for, I'm going with The Dark Knight Returns by Frank Miller. The Dark Knight Returns is one of the most iconic comic books of all time, Batman or otherwise. For those who aren't familiar, features Batman coming out of retirement at the age of 55 to battle the new young punks, the mutants as they're known, the street gang. Just remixes a lot of elements of Batman mythology. Joker and Two-Face, both extremely memorable in this climactic battle with Superman at the end. Spoiler alert. It's just a fantastic series. I think Frank Miller is an absolute god and icon of comic books. Not breaking any news by making that claim, but this was a big influence on Tim Burton's version of the character. And I got to give a shout out to The Dark Knight Returns, even though it's probably more appropriate for the Affleck movies. It's kind of more based on that. Maybe Mike, you can give your recommendation for this book and a different Batman movie. Just because I took it off the board for myself doesn't mean that you can't include it at some point. We'll get there eventually, and I look forward to hearing your analysis. As for films, I thought about this one a lot because it's tough. There's a lot of ways to go with Michelle Pfeiffer, with Michael Keaton, and obviously Tim Burton. Definitely considered a couple other Tim Burton films, which are among my favorites. I think he's just truly an iconic director for me. But at the end of the day, the movie I'm going to recommend isn't even really one that I'm like absolutely in love with, but I do think is a very interesting companion piece, and that would be Birdman with Michael Keaton, the Best Picture winning Birdman. This is an interesting movie. It's basically Michael Keaton kind of playing himself. He's an actor who is about to perform a stage play, but he is best known as playing a comic book hero, and it starts to sort of have delusions that are confusing Birdman with his own life, where he's had a very difficult relationship with his daughter, who's played by Emma Stone, is having a tough time with the cast and Edward Norton, his co-star. And director Alejandro Inarritu is a real technical master. He shoots this entire film as if it's done in just one long take. There's no cutting, there's no editing. It's one of the first movies I'd ever seen that went to that level of we're just going to do everything in what looks like one long cut. And again, I don't necessarily love this film personally, but I do think it's a very interesting companion piece to Michael Keaton's turn as Batman. And it's one of those movies that even if you don't like it, you'll be thinking about it and kind of talking about it. It has a very interesting pure drums score. As a drummer,
Yeah.
I know you can appreciate that part. And it was pretty shocking to me that it, won Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Best Cinematography. Michael Keaton was up for Best Actor. Edward Norton and Emma Stone were up for Best Supporting Actor and Actresses, and was also nominated for Best Sound Editing and Sound Mixing. So it was really highly acclaimed and a very odd film to do so well at the Oscars. So if you haven't seen it, I would recommend checking out Birdman.
It's really interesting because Keaton plays an actor who has played the character of Birdman in like two superhero movies, and then there's a lot of pressure for him to come back and play Birdman in a third superhero movie. That kind of reflects what Keaton was going through personally, and that after this movie comes back and plays Batman in The Flash as like a third iteration of this character. So it is really interesting that it's one of those situations where art kind of reflects life, rather than the vice versa. So great movie. I love Birdman. I love Inarritu and everything he's done. He directed The Revenant and Gravity and stuff like that. He's one of the master directors, I think, of today. My film recommendation, I'm gonna go with this one because this is the last time that I will have an opportunity to recommend something from Tim Burton or possibly even Danny DeVito, I think. But both of them worked collaboratively together on a movie called Big Fish. And I absolutely love Big Fish. I think it's my favorite Tim Burton movie overall. It's much different from everything else that he's ever done. It's much more lighthearted in tone. A lot of his other work is just very dark, darkly filmed, dark in theme, and it's a lot about like freaks and them trying to find their humanity and things like that. But Big Fish is very different. It's very much about family and the history of what happens to a family, and it's much more lighthearted and things like that. And it's my personal favorite Tim Burton movie. And Danny DeVito he comes back to reprise his acting career with Tim Burton there a little bit. Plays a semi-integral role, I will say. Not something major, but something that is still kind of somewhat crucial to the part. Ewan McGregor is great in it. Finney is great. Billy Crudup is absolutely, I think, fantastic in that role. And it's just one of my favorite movies of the mid 2000s range there. And I can't say enough good things about Big Fish.
I was really, really thinking about Big Fish. I was like this close. I was weighing between Big Fish and Birdman. And I like Big Fish more than Birdman, actually. But
Me too.
I do think that Big Fish is, yeah, I think it may be my favorite Tim Burton too. Watching this, I think this might be the one for me. Edward Scissorhands, also excellent. I mean, I really love all of his early movies. I recommended Pee-wee's Big Adventure last time. Beetlejuice is another classic for me. So you kind of can't go wrong. I think the thing that separates Big Fish beyond what you talked about, which is a great point, that it's the color scheme, the palette is bright, it's shot during the day, it's not all just dark and dreary, but it's a really poignant film about fathers and sons. And I saw Big Fish in the theater on Christmas Day with my dad.
Oh, wow.
And my dad is not someone, A, who is like a big cinephile at all, and B, is very emotional. And he was like choked up after that movie and was kind of almost like, take that movie to How I Feel for You, because it's really about like a father who's kind of repressed with his son, and his son who's played by Billy Crudup, and Ewan McGregor plays the young version of the father. You know, it's about their very complicated relationship and their father's death. And like, but it's not sad. The actual ending is really like return to earth kind of thing. And like, you know, and their forgiveness. I mean, it's a very poignant movie for fathers and sons. And I think it's by far Tim Burton's most mature film in terms of those kinds of themes. And it's an excellent movie. I'm really, really glad you recommended it, because I was really this close to doing it myself. And with that, we have reached the conclusion of yet another episode of Superhero Cinema Club. Mike, I don't know. We might have to like fight at that, like to decide. I mean, I'm not mad at you. It's not like you diss this movie and I love it, but just good. I just cannot believe it. To me, this is an all-time superhero masterpiece. I mean, like I said, the highest tier you can get in a superhero film, I would put this in.
This was the least that I've enjoyed this movie out of the number of times I've seen it. So I don't know. Yeah, it didn't resonate with me this time.
I had a smile across my face the entire time rewatching this. It was just amazing for me. Well, you guys can watch for yourself and let us know what you think. We'll be back next week, and I'm really pumped up for this next one, Batman Forever. It's been forever since I've watched this movie, so I cannot wait to see how good it is relative to the overall Bat canon, and this season in particular. Val Kilmer, Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones. These are classic actors. It can't be bad. Can't be as bad as I remember.
Can it? I don't know.
We'll find out. We'll find out on the next episode of Superhero Cinema Club. Thanks for listening.
Superhero Cinema Club is hosted by Mark Schiff and me, Mike Carnes. Produced by Mark Schiff. Editing by Mike Carnes. Original music provided by Chris Carnes. Find him on Spotify. Be sure to follow us on social media. You can find us at Superhero Cinema Club, and don't forget to like and subscribe and leave a review. Join us next time as we dive into another epic adventure from the world of superhero cinema.